Folks, welcome into the show. It is Saturday. You're seeing this right, folks. It's not the right side of campus. It's not Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. It's Saturday. The big man on campus here, the star of the show, college basketball. Huge card about to be underway, Jeff. And as I say, about to be underway, there already is one game that just tipped off on the big screen in front of me here today, but a lot of fun to be had here at sportsbookreview.com. There's not a lot of time to waste, Jeff. A huge card today, brother. What's cooking?
Oh, doing well, Donnie. Good to have you on. Little different host. I usually host, and we wanted to get the band back together here. So yeah, hopefully everyone enjoys the show. Many of the guys tune in and ask plenty of questions. We'll try to get to as many games as we can.
No, it's going to be a lot of fun today. Waiting for some links to come out so we can retweet it, get this live chat box popping here. I know there's a lot of games to go over, and I see the big man do it each and every day. We haven't done a Saturday sit-down, quote-unquote, closing line, Jeff, in about a year's time. Football season, we're split up a little bit, but back together, and it feels so good on a Saturday morning, Jeff. Now, I know there's rules out there in the live chat box that we always like to adhere to. There's going to be a lot of people in the chat box, a lot of games to go after. We appreciate your patience there. We'll get to just about every game you want to get to, but also, as we always like to stress, Jeff, please give us the rotation numbers. Don't just shout it out. Say, what do you think about the UL Monroe game today? We'll try to get to it, answer all the questions that you have, tee it up, and see if we can win some money here at sportsbookreview.com, big man.
Yeah, definitely set in the rotation number. And Donnie, this show was like the first show that I did like as my own show. Like I started out doing videos with Peter like 3 or 4 years ago, and they gave me an opportunity to do a basketball show. I remember it was me and the Bread Man. If you guys know who that is, we used to do a show, and that was like my first. That's when I think, Donnie. I think SGR said, "Wow, we got a fucking star here. This guy is the king. We got to get him on." So they got me on, and now look where we're at. But yes, retweet the show if you're out there. Get the word out to people that maybe don't see it on a regular basis, and we'll do the best to get your game. Donnie, where are we starting out here?
Yeah, why don't we, Jeff, the game just tipped off. There's no score, so we can cheat right now between SMU and UCF, Jeff. Just some early thoughts on this. I know it's already tipped off. We might get a live wager, but I think we're under the both same premise there because we nailed the Memphis game the other night ago where Memphis went down to play a shaky SMU team without, as I say, shaky, Jeff, no pun intended, without Shake Milton in that one. What do you see out of this game? Open lineup at 3, jumped up to 4.5 with double juice before it closed out there. It's 3-0 early UCF. What did you see in this game? Just some early thoughts on that one, Jeff.
Yeah. I mean, this is what I'm not a big fan of 12 o'clock games. I'm definitely not a gigantic fan of 11 o'clock. But there's starting to be a little bit more to work with SMU here. They got back, Amelagu. How healthy he is, who knows? He couldn't even shoot the other night, and he was still in there. They get Chargois back. They still have Jimmy Witt and Jamal McMurray, but there's just not a ton of depth there. Your best player, Shake Milton. We all know UCF's a very good defense team, and this game's on the road. Slight lean to UCF, but it didn't get any of my money today. But you're starting to see SMU get a bit healthy.
No, you're right about that one, Jeff. And we want to take a look. I know a lot of things to go to chomp to a bit. We'll try to stick in line there with rotation numbers. We already see some people throwing some out there. But why don't we hit, Jeff, those 12 o'clock games, get those out of the way, and then we can pick and choose because obviously we're not going to be under any time constraints. Let's go right to a game and a conference that I know you're very interested in, Jeff, 503, 504. That's Texas and Oklahoma. If we're looking here, that line opens up at 6.5. Some spots still sitting at 7 out there. About 2,400 tickets have tracked. 58% of those tickets, Jeff, coming in on the home squad here, Oklahoma, which I know you're not that high on. Me. We do shows together all the time, and the sort of the nitpicking is starting to begin. I mean, yes, opening up the season, fantastic guard at point guard with Trae Young, but now you're seeing some of the warts of Oklahoma, Jeff, because I think you called it before. Seems like a one-man band out there for Oklahoma.
Yeah, it is. And they've lost 7 of 9 in those 9 games. If you give up 80 or more points 7 times. So they're struggling. They're not a good defensive team as it is. They're giving up 85 points a game in conference, which just isn't good enough, Donnie. I mean, it's not. And you have a team in Texas coming in here who, Donnie, they're squarely on the bubble. Okay, they are. This is one of those bubble teams heading into the games today that they need to go on the road and find a way to win this game. They're getting 6.5 here. They're the much better defensive team. Look, with Texas, your issue is always going to be on the defensive or on the offensive end. Can they manufacture enough offense? But I'm not sure I can really see them not manufacturing offense against Oklahoma here. Texas can or Oklahoma can bombard you a little bit, but I think Shaka Smart's done a nice job overall with keeping Trae Young in place. They're playing for Andrew Jones this season. That story's going around on ESPN and all the different networks. So I got to tell you, Donnie, I'm actually going to go with Texas in this game. This is going to be a play of the day for me. I really like this spot for the Longhorns. I like the 6.5. If they can win, obviously that'd be great, and we'd easily cover, and I think they can. But I'll take the 6.5 points here in a game that I think is going to be close. I just don't think Oklahoma is a very good basketball team overall. I think Texas has some of the big boys to run with them. Bama should have a big game. I'm going to go with Texas plus 6.5 here.
Yeah, Jeff, money burners as of late. If you're looking just against the spread with Oklahoma, 0-4 in the month of February. Haven't been lined that well this year playing. And again, you're feeding off sort of the young spot there. It seems like a lot of points when you look, 6.5 sitting at home, and still a lot of the public leaning on Oklahoma in this one, Jeff. If we take a quick look at the total over under in this one, 154.5, it opens up at both Pinnacle and Chris. Now currently sitting at 155.5. Any thoughts, anything, ideas going on that one, Jeff, with the way of the total?
I got nothing on the total. Just a side play for me in this one, Donnie.
All right, Jeff, keep it moving down the list, 505, 506. We'll keep it at noon here early, folks. Then we'll sort of open it up to what you want to talk about and get to, Jeff. Syracuse and Miami of Florida, 72% of the early tickets, Jeff, lining up on those Miami Hurricanes. Line opened up at 4.5. Currently sitting at 4.5 across the board. Not much scoring anticipated between these two teams. 128.5, the line opens up with the total, Jeff. And that currently sits at 128 at Chris, 129 at BetOnline, 128.5 at Sportsbook.ag. What are we looking at of this ACC tilt here? Is Miami going to have a nice bounce back victory here? We all know the last game versus NC State, how that ended up with Syracuse. Now Syracuse going on the road to play the Hurricanes. Decent number there, 4.5, just leaning towards the home team. Not a huge home court advantage for the Miami Hurricanes. Can Syracuse come down here and shoot their way to a victory, Jeff?
Yeah, I think they can. Miami's look, the issue they've had is they're just not a very good team against the spread. I mean, they weren't good last year. They're sure as hell not good this year. Both these teams very good defensively. Syracuse with the zone. You're going to hear it, Donnie, a lot today. Bubble game, bubble team. Syracuse, another team on the bubble. They need a win. They had an opportunity the other night against NC State, weren't able to get the job done. Now they got a chance at Miami, a sure tournament team here, without Brown, who, look, here's the problem that Miami has, and they had it the other night against Virginia. They just don't have a ton depth-wise at guard. I mean, you're working with guys like Lonnie Walker, who's a freshman. Jaquan Newton has been really MIA all season. They've really needed like Chris Likes to step up, and he's been able to do so. But Donnie, this guy's like 5'8". I mean, how long can that last? He's had a great season, but they just haven't had a ton of depth. And you have another real good defensive team here that's going to bother you. Miami, at times struggles to shoot the ball in conference. They're not a great three-point shooting team. I lean Syracuse here. I think it's a game that they really got to have as well. I think you'll see your best effort out of Boeheim's crew today. Miami without Brown, they're hard to back just because they don't have a ton of guard right now.
Yeah, no, you got to shoot over that zone too, and that's going to be key and indicator because you don't really have those marksmen. You're right, for the Miami Hurricanes to be able to take down that matchup 2-3 zone. Jeff, just going over a little bit of information, updating now. Central Florida 5-0. Hey, Jeff, what a surprise! It's 4 minutes into the game, and SMU hasn't even scored yet. Any surprise there for you?
No. UCF's a good defense. That doesn't surprise me.
No, they certainly do. We'll keep it going down the list, Jeff. Let's keep it in the ACC. 507, 508 on the rotation. Another noon start. Virginia Tech and Georgia Tech. If we take a look here, a lot of people back in that road team, Jeff. We always know Virginia Tech seemingly that underdog, theme type of team, which gets a lot of public support. 82%, as I said, of those tickets lining up early with Virginia Tech. Line opened up at 3.5. Currently 3.5 across the board. Sportsbook.ag and CG Technologies, Jeff, coming in with a -4. Usually I like to play Virginia Tech in that sneaky home environment. Now stepping out on the road and favored versus Georgia Tech. Can they go down to Atlanta and get the job done today?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not really interested in this game very much. One of these current, dicey spots where you have a team getting a lot of public money here. The line's pretty much stayed the same. I don't have much in this one. I think Georgia Tech obviously is struggling. But without Alvarado, they have some off-the-court problems with their coach. And Virginia Tech's off a bad loss. But, Virginia Tech, this is a tough defense. It's a road game. I'm not sure I see the love affair with this game. A lot of people betting it. I don't really see it, but it's a game I'll avoid. No interest.
Yeah, no, yeah, I don't have much on it either. But just looking at the way Virginia Tech has played on the road lately, Jeff, picking up the win at Notre Dame, at BC, at Virginia, we all saw that game. But then crashing down to earth, which you have that big win against an in-state rival. We got to Duke. There's no shame in getting blasted by them. We'll see if they can jump back on that horse and get going. Good game here coming up, Jeff. The last of the 12 o'clock round that we'll talk about, 5:09, 5:10. That's going to be Providence traveling to Butler and Hinkle Fieldhouse. 58% of those tickets, Jeff, going to line up with Providence. No surprise. Most people saw the last couple times out on the court, obviously beating the Villanova Wildcats. 145.5 is the total, currently sitting at 146 across the board. Butler, Jeff, strong home favorite here, but not getting a lot of that ticket count. 7.5 it opens up, Jeff. Most places still sitting at 7.5, and even Sportsbook.ag, Jeff, sitting at -8 right now in the favor of the Butler Bulldogs.
Yeah, this is a game. If I'm going to bet it, I'd probably look towards the total. 11 of 14 have went over at home this year for Butler. They've really pushed the pace, been a real nice over team all season. They're a good offensive team. They do a nice job at home. I mean, 52% from the field at home. Some of these Big East teams are fantastic on offense, as we know, scoring almost 87 points per game. They've also struggled to get stops. I like the guard play that Providence has, but they're off a big win. Now you got to go out to Hinkle. That's a tough place to go and play. I'd lean over. I think we'll see some points here. I think it can get to that 150 mark. Keep in mind, though, Providence has covered 8 of 10 against this Butler team and 5 of 6 over the last 3 seasons. So they've had a nice number. I would actually kind of consider Providence here. I think they're too good to be getting 8, 7.5 points to Butler. Butler's a solid team, but I'm not overly in love with them. They play well against Villanova, but everyone else, I'm not sure how good they are. They have a new coach, obviously. No more Holtman, no more Brad Stevens. They have a very new coach. And look, like I said, other than Villanova, they've not been that impressive. I think Providence can hang around here.
No, I could currently see that as well. I mean, you're right. I mean, both these teams play great offense. I didn't like the way Butler played against Villanova on the road. But then again, who plays that well outside of St. John's? It seems like playing Villanova on the road, Jeff. Keep another update here. And again, no surprises, Jeff. UCF 11-1 over SMU right now with about 13 minutes in. And good luck to SMU in that offense without Shake Milton. I know the other, is it Meligu, hurt also with the wrist. So we'll see if they can even get to 10 points, Jeff, before they have. Thanks for everybody tuning in here. 450 people tuning in live. If you haven't done so yet, folks, hit the like button down there. Show us your love out there. You don't have to send us any money. You have to send us your love out there. That's what we get paid on here down at sportsbookreview.com. Also, check out sbrodds.com. And if you haven't done so yet, hit the subscribe button right there down on YouTube. Every single time me and the big man go live, you get that notification. You can tune in and say hello here in the chat box. And also, if you're interested in the setup here, today is Saturday. Obviously, it's college basketball. I'm more of the host of this show, setting up the superstar at sportsbookreview.com in college basketball. The big man on campus. It's his show. We'll let him wield the knife here, as we like to say, Jeff. And again, have 1 o'clock game, Jeff. Why don't we get that out of the way, and then we'll play it up in the chat box. And yeah, what's up, brother?
I was wondering, you want to make a bet on how many points SMU score in the half?
How many points SMU scores in the half? Yeah, go ahead. What's your over under on this? We'll take some numbers on this.
I'll say 16.
That's actually a good number. I'll go over the 16 because I can't believe they're going to be held to 16 or less. But then again, Jeff, Memphis held them to damn near had them to 20, so they're right around that game, and that was at home. So we'll see if that ends up 13-2 right now. Yeah.
They have 2 points in 7 minutes. So I mean, it's not setting up for them. But what do we have here? Iowa State, Kansas State. I'll be real frank with you, Donnie. I don't have much in this game. This is kind of one of those middling Big 12 games. You know, and two teams like this, not playing for a ton. You're really going to have to kind of whack it up in the Big 12 tournament. Kind of a game with a coin flippy attitude to me.
Yeah, last time they played, Jeff, looks like it was on the 29th of December, and they Kansas State dismantled Iowa State 91-75. Always a tough place to play, but it's a tough place to play a lot of in that Big 12 grinder there. You're looking at the Octagon of Doom, Jeff, but the last 2 games that they played, they did drop a game to Kansas by 14 points at home, and then I'm also looking Texas Tech dropped them at home by 19 points. You know, nice bounce-back victory on the road, that 82-72 free throw fest over the last 2 minutes between Oklahoma State and also Kansas State, but I don't have much on this game as well. Looks like the line line opened up, Jeff, 7.5, sitting at 8 across the board, 65% of those wagers. But to me, sometimes when you look at it, it seems like a little bit too many points. But then again, we all know the Hilton Magic, everything that Iowa State brings. But again, that's at home. Now heading out on the road, you're right. Not a lot of jockeying position in this one. I don't have much of a feel in it, so we'll just keep it moving forward, Jeff. As we hit the 2 o'clock slates out there, any games, Jeff, at these 2 o'clock range, or should we just hit the chat box, try to get some feelers for them? Because we're pretty much freed up for the rest of the show here to have some fun and go over some game action here.
Yeah, obviously 5:15, 5:16 people, have their opinions on. But,
Yep.
I got to be frank. I'm not one of these people that says, oh, I'm not betting on that team because they fucked me in the last game. I think that's one of the big problems bettors have. You got to be willing to forgive and forget. But it's hard to bet Kentucky right now. This team is really down in the dumps. They've been struggling most of the season. They're kind of like a kid, Donnie, that you have that has promise. Is a driven kid. He can handle his situation, but he just acts like a moron. I remember in high school, I was a bit of a disciplinary problem. And my family would always say to me, we think there's more in you. Why are you acting like this? Kentucky is just like that kid that I was back in high school. They're full of promise. They're full of talent. It just hasn't been able to get itself going. And I don't know what to do with Kentucky. What I'll do is, listen, if you gave me a choice here and you said, pick this game or I'm going to blow your head off, I'd probably take Alabama. It's hard to bet Kentucky right now. But I'm just waiting for them to really kind of get it going. There's a couple of people that listen to the show that, Donnie, they were gracious enough to send me some Eagles gear out of the blue from Kentucky. They're fans of the show. They like what I do, and they're big Kentucky fans. They ask all the time, what do you think of Kentucky? Are they going to turn it around? And I tell them, I hate to say it, I don't know. I mean, I think they will, and they say, well, they're at home this week. Maybe they'll get it going at Rupp. Yeah, I would think, but who the hell knows? They're the biggest head-scratching team in the country.
Now, Jeff, taking a look at this game, I want to pick your mind on something here, because when you're looking for value, and we're all gamblers and we want value in this, and you're right, Kentucky is down, people saying they don't want to bet them, but when you look at the last 4 games that they lost, is there really that much of a shame? 3 of those games, Jeff, on the road, one at Missouri, which they dropped by 9, one at A&M, they lost by 11, then one at Auburn, they lost by 10, a couple days to clear their head, and then they lose to Tennessee at home in a barn burn type game, 61-59 against a good Tennessee team. Is this one of those games that you can look at, maybe they clear their head, they get home to Rupp Arena and play some basketball? Because you're right, losing 4 in a row, Coach Cal's not used to doing that, especially at Kentucky with the amount of talent that he has. Maybe you're catching them a little bit value-wise, even though they lost 4 straight, but you have to take a look at, who did they lose to? It wasn't like they went out there and lost to, a MEAC team or got embarrassed or, Robert Morris like they did a couple years back in the NIT. Is there any value in betting those type of situations?
I don't really think, because, first of all, that's concerning, because you're losing teams that are going to the NCAA tournament where you strive to go and you're not able to beat them. But what was the excuse that they lost to South Carolina? What was the excuse to probably should have lose to Vanderbilt? Vanderbilt led the whole game. They just kind of cracked to 2 minutes to go. This team's played in close games all year. It's been a growing problem for Calipari. You lost to Florida, a game you probably should have won. They've had all sorts of games where they should have won. I'm just sick of the excuses. Now there's 4 games straight. You did lose to good teams, but at what point are you going to turn it around and get going? This has not just been over the last 4 games. This has been an issue with this team, losing games that they shouldn't and having close games. Look at the second game of the season. That's a perfect example. Vermont. Vermont's a good team, but yeah, they shouldn't be going into Kentucky and hanging around. Look, the first game of the season, they were down at halftime to Utah Valley State. This has been a problem all year with this team. I think they're talented as hell, but they just can't get it going consistently. I don't know why.
All right, let's get to the chat box now, Jeff. Have some fun. Brock Matava says at Donnie Rightside, rotation 613, 614. That's going to be Charleston, Jeff, or College of Charleston, I should say, and NC Wilmington. And if we look, 52% of the tickets, Jeff, lining up early with College of Charleston. Line opens up at 3, sitting at 3.5. Even 4s are popping up with Bet Online and Chris. Jeff, any early thoughts taking a look at this game, trying to hit some of these rotation numbers real quick?
Yeah, I like Charleston a lot. I think they're a team to keep your eye on for sure. I think they're the best team down in the CAA. They've done, really kind of ascended all year. They've won 9 in a row. They're playing great basketball. they're fully healthy, which is a big deal. And this is a conference that is strife at times with defense, Donnie. There's not a ton of great defensive teams in this conference, and Charleston is that. They have 3 players that average 17 points or more. Grant Riller, Brantley, and Sheely. They're all healthy now. They do a nice job finally of scoring the basketball a little bit more consistently, which is something that they had struggled with for many years. But they're the best defensive team in this conference, facing, arguably the worst, facing a team in UNC Wilmington that has gotten a bit better over the season, but they're still a pretty poor defensive team. They press a lot. I think with the senior guards that Charleston have, look, this isn't something they haven't seen before. They're well aware of how to face a press. This is a team in Wilmington, Donnie. They're giving up 83 points a game. That's 340th in the country. I mean, it's just dreadful. It's not good enough. Give me, I would go with Charleston here. It's a game I'm looking at for sure.
Yeah, shooting 79% from the free throw line in conference for Charleston, Jeff. And you're right. When you watch UNC Wilmington over the years, those Kevin Keats teams were amazing. They would bring the pressure each and every game, full court, rotate a lot of guys in. Now you're not seeing that type out of the new coaching staff. But also, Jeff, one of those key components there, you're right. If you want to get on pressure and turn the other team over, what better team to protect the ball than the College of Charleston? In conference, probably one of the best, if not the best in the conference, at not turning the ball over, always going to get those open looks. And I've always been a big fan of Joe Cheeley throughout the years here. So College of Charleston, I would have that lean as well, taking it on the road. Anywhere else we want to go to here, Jeff? You want to pick out one of these chat box games these guys are popping off about?
Yeah, we could. I'm an open book. We could just rock. I could just
Yep.
go off the top. Yep. Go ahead.
Yeah, let me see. Let's see who comes up next in the chat box here with one of those games. I know they're all rifling through. 609, 610. Fellas, can you take a look at it? That would be Middle Tennessee State and Louisiana Tech. I was on a loser against Middle Tennessee State a couple days, was it Thursday night, I guess it would be, versus Southern Miss. 62-62 final. The claws, the defense that we know Middle Tennessee State can play. That 62-62 game ended up where I was sitting at +7, Jeff, with Southern Miss. Ended up a 72-62 loser for me. But again, still out on the road on one of those trips on a short turnaround playing La Tech. Line opens up 89%, Jeff, betting the road team here, Middle Tennessee State, and that line's still sitting at 3, hasn't moved at all. Is that a red flag for you in this one? Or are you just going to say, you know what, Middle Tennessee State to me is the class of that conference. I'm going to ride them out, basically just happening to win the game, only covering 3 here, Jeff.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't have any problem with La Tech in the first game at home. They only held them to 57 points. And, I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think Middle Tennessee is among the great mid-majors in the country. I would put them right up at the top. This is a team, Donnie, that beat Florida Gulf Coast, who we know are very good. They beat them twice. Okay, beat Murray State out of conference, who we know is a good team. Beat beat Mississippi, beat Vandy, 2 SEC teams. Lost by 6 to Auburn, who's a nationally ranked number 1 seed.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. They hung right with USC. Lost by 3 to Miami out in Hawaii. This is a really, really good basketball team, okay? They're going to be the number 1 seed in this conference, in the conference tournament, and I think they're going to end up winning it. Kermit Davis has a pedigree at this university of excellence. I mean, they're a great basketball team. Giddy Potts, we know, great player. They have Nick King down on the block, who really just commands, a lot, 8 rebounds a game, just a great player. I've been real disappointed with La Tech this year. I thought they'd be a team that maybe could give MTSU a bit of a run for their money. They're 7-7 in conference. Really have looked kind of lost at times this year. I don't have much of a problem laying 3 with Middle Tennessee. They're always a team that, is going to take care of your money.
All right, we'll keep it going here down in the chat box, Jeff. Maybe another conference near and dear to your heart here. Let's go with Julian Toscano. Says 667, 668, Jeff. IPFW, North Dakota State. If we're taking a look early betting action, not that many tickets have been wagered offshore. 63%, Jeff, leaning towards North Dakota State in this one. Line opens up at 3.5, 4. Still staying in that somewhat range. Double juice at Chris, Jeff, with 4, 4.5 at BetOnline, 4.5 at Sportsbook.ag. Give your thoughts on IPFW, North Dakota State.
Yeah, IPFW, we all know what they do. On the road, they're a team that, it's funny. I have a guy that calls into one of my shows that he's an IPFW fan. He lives in Fort Wayne. It's kind of random, but he mentioned, you remember that run they went on a couple years ago, and I said, of course I do. He goes, but this year, he goes, we just can't win on the road. And I said, yeah, that's the problem. You're 4-11 straight up, 5-10 against the number. Offensively, the numbers go down. Defensively, the numbers go up. I mean, this team's shooting under 42% on the road. And I'll tell you what, this North Dakota State team, year after year, what a grinder team. What a team just, you know, they're not going to get respect for basketball, but I think they should. I mean, they're always a team that plays tough. They're gritty. They don't have the best basketball players in the world, but they have those corn-fed, kids that live in, Nebraska or Wyoming or even in their home state of North Dakota. They just grind. The AJ Jacobsons, the guys like that just get after you. They play defense. They're good scorers. I mean, Paul Miller, 19 points a game this year for them. They're doing a great job at home all season up in that Fargo area, but not playing well. They've won only one of their last 5. 2 teams that are kind of struggling. I don't have much opinion on this game. You're getting closer to the conference tournament. 2 teams here that aren't going to move the nail anymore. So I think this one's one I would probably skip. I don't see much edge.
Jeff, somebody asking out here in the chat box for you, 553, 554. Not so much about the game itself here, which obviously we're going to give an opinion on, but Florida Vanderbilt seems like a little bit of a trap line they're saying out there. 740 tickets, Jeff, have come in here. 80% of those tickets are lined up on the road team here. Florida, line opened up at 2, sitting at about 2.5 at this point. Vanderbilt's been scrappy since they lost Matthew Fisher-Davis here, Jeff. Is that a little bit of a trap line for you, Florida's heading out? Because if we take a look at the past, 3 had losers of 3 of 5, lost at Georgia on the road, but did have a nice win against South Carolina, 65-41. But their most recent game, again, having problems with Georgia, but heading out after a couple days break. Should Florida be able to win this game here versus the Commodores?
Yeah, they should. And I'm not sure what would be the reason you'd be concerned or think this is a trap. I mean, open 2, money's coming in. It went up to 2.5. Seems like general consensus to me. Look, Florida's 6-0, Donnie. In their last 6 as a road favorite of 3 points or less. They win these close games. Vanderbilt's the worst ATS team in the country, in my opinion. They're not talented. I know people will point to the fact that they're winning some games, but this Florida team is better. They're very good on the defensive end. I think people will probably look at this game at the end of the day and say, wow, I was really conned into thinking that was a trap, and it wasn't. Look, Vanderbilt's not any good. I think you keep, faith that at the end of the game, they'll do something to blow it. You have a pretty small number. You're only 2.5. I'm confident with them on the road. They've actually been pretty good away from home. 7-4 Florida against the spread.
All right, we'll keep it going here. Any thoughts on 519, 520, Jeff? Toledo at Ball State. That is some action there. When you take a look at that, when you're initially looking, Jeff, Toledo, it opens up at a pick'em, and it's sort of head-scratcher, but it does have 50-50 ticket flow in this one, and has since risen. Chris is sitting at 2, Bet Online sitting at 1.5. To me, obviously, there's no real comparison on who the more talented team is, Jeff, and that would be Toledo in this one, but we've seen it time and time again in this conference. Sometimes no lead is safe. Home court advantage sometimes does not matter in this one. And that is a little bit of a leaky number. But if I'm just looking at the better team overall, to me, it would be Toledo in this one, Jeff. Any thoughts or opinions on this one?
Yeah, I'm not looking to step in front of Toledo's offense. Their offense is fantastic. And, you look at last night, Buffalo wins. I mean, they kind of have to keep pace if they want to win the MAC season title. This whole East-West thing is shit. I mean, you want to win it. You don't want to win the East and they win the West. That's Ugats. I want to win the whole thing. Yeah, I'm not a big MAC guy, but I do know one thing about Toledo. They've been real good all season. Kind of a curious number, getting places 2 points to Ball State, who, Ball State's kind of their only other concern. I mean, Ball State's had a pretty good year. They're kind of sitting right in second there, but they're several games behind. I mean, the likelihood of them catching them are low. I still think Toledo has plenty to play for here. It's hard to not take them as an underdog here. They are definitely the better team.
Yeah, I guess, some people would look at, because, and again, I don't like to take too much into the previous game that they played a couple weeks back. Ball State did win 75-63. So I know some people say, hey, you know what? They already solved that puzzle once, and now they're going to be playing them on their home court. They should be able to, do it again and follow it up. I don't take that much into it. Maybe, somebody's had an off shooting night that night. Somebody had the flu. Somebody missed the game. So you like to take each and every game into account there. But I could see why you're looking at that game saying, well, the only game that they did lose was to them. So there might be something to it there that we could take a look at. Let's see what else we got here in the chat box and keep rolling through some things. Let's see, 663, 664. Let me scroll down to that game. That's pretty far all the way down. Got 663, 664.
East Tennessee State, Western Carolina.
There we go. East Tennessee State, Western Carolina. Jeff, 657 tickets have been tracked in this one. 68% leaning on the road. East Tennessee State squad line opened up at 10, Jeff. Currently sitting at 10 across the board. Honest to God, Jeff, I didn't even take a look at this game or cap this game. Anything that you can give any insights there out to the chat box on this one?
Yeah, I didn't either, but I think one thing about the Catamounts you have to respect, they're a good defensive team. They're at home here. They've done a nice job of hanging games. They're much better than they were last year. This was a team last year, Donnie, West Carolina, that was, right at the bottom in the country offensively. They barely cracked 59 points a game. They were struggling. They've really improved this year. But East Tennessee's the class of this conference. They have a much better offensive advantage here. I have a feeling this game's like 77-64, something like that. I don't hate the spot, but I don't really, not something I'll be interested in. I think Western Carolina's improved.
No, I hear you on that one. Aaron Escobar in the chat box, Jeff. 513, 514. We might as well head back down to SEC territory. Missouri heading out on the road versus LSU. 65% of those early tickets, Jeff, coming in on the road team here, the Missouri Tigers. Opened up at Pinnacle at -1, opened up at Chris -1. We do see some line movement going in the direction here for Missouri with that ticket count and also money count there. Any ideas or any thoughts here, Jeff? Missouri, battle of the Tigers here.
Yeah, flip a coin. I like what Will Wade's done at LSU. Obviously, they've improved significantly, but I like Missouri. I like what they're doing. Michael Porter's rumored to be coming back. If they can get him back, I mean, now all of a sudden you're probably a top 10 team with that caliber of player coming back. A coin flip for me. I don't have anything here.
Let's get to one of the bigger games here out in the chat box. I believe it was, I want to say, who had this game? Justin Ream, 569, 570. Villanova and Xavier, Jeff, close to the heart here. We know how tough Xavier is. We know how tough that home court advantage is to overcome. Villanova, I don't want to say, Jeff, the wrong word is leaking a little bit of oil, losing 2 or 3 in some tough environments there, dealing with some injuries, concussions, fractured hands out there. If we take a look, Nova, as I said, has lost 2 of 3, but Xavier unbeaten at home this year. But let's not forget, Jeff, in the first matchup, Nova did some damage to the Xavier team. A nice environment to play in for Xavier, a revenge factor. And if we take a look, Jeff, 58% are backing the home team here, Jeff. Xavier over Villanova. Line opened up at -1.5 and -2 in the favor of Villanova. Hanging around that same direction of 1.5, Jeff. Can Nova go on the road, bounce back, and get a nice victory here? Or is Xavier going to be out for blood?
I think Xavier's going to be out for blood here. I think this is a real good spot to take the home team. It's hard to say that I have I'm going to say this, but I am. I'm not really sure why he'd back Villanova here. I don't think they're right now without Phil Booth. I don't know how good this team is. I mean, they're on the road too. This team's playing with revenge, Xavier. Xavier has the shot at number 1 seed still. They're 16-0, Donnie, at home this year, and they've won 43 of 48 in the Cintas Center over the last 3 seasons. I just have a hard time, taking Villanova. This is a real coaching conundrum for Jay Wright. This is where, great coaches kind of shine and find a way. But this Xavier team, top to bottom, I really like. They have, obviously a star in Blewett. They have a real irritating guy on the court if you don't have him on your team in J.P. McCura. I mean, Donnie, how long has McCura been at Xavier?
Yeah.
8 years?
Yeah, no,
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
And he's always kind of around the basketball. You have Kareem Cantor down low. You have, a guy in O'Mara will never get any credit. But I'll tell you what, for the size of him, he's graceful, great around the rim. Doesn't seem to ever miss around the tin, which is good. You want a sure-handed guy there. They play at times decent defense. They have guys at the bench, Tariq Jones or Gates or whoever. I like them. Or not Gates, Jones. I like them a lot. I think they get the job done here. I think they finally beat Villanova and beat them in the head for that remember that blowout they had the first game we were watching it?
Yes.
What was
Yep.
it, 89-65, I think?
Yeah.
Yeah, I like Xavier here. I would take them in a coin flip matchup here.
Yeah, I like those bounce backs. Jamie Ross in the chat box, Jeff. He wants to talk Big Ten public favorite action here. That's going to be 523, 524. Michigan State versus Northwestern. About 1,000 tickets have been tracked in that one, Jeff. 72% of those tickets and 81% of the money, Jeff, lining up to take your money on the Michigan State Spartans here on the road. Line opened up at 8 and 7.5, depending on where you're shopping at. Now sitting at Chris at -8. Bet online -7.5. Sportsbook.ag -8. CG Technology 7.5. Jeff, we look, obviously Northwestern is outmanned in this game, but when you look, Jeff, and we always like to be a little bit sarcastic here. It means a lot to Michigan State in the healing process to go to Northwestern and get this win. Is 8 too many points to lay on the road? Because Northwestern is probably going to want to slow this down. But does it matter? Does the talent discrepancy just catch up and Michigan State run away with this one?
Yeah, I think they will. I mean, Northwestern, another team, very disappointing. I thought I thought I'd see more out of this group this year. They've had a trouble defensively at times, and it's amazing how Sanjay Lumpkin leaves Northwestern and they just become kind of lost on the defensive end. Brian McIntosh has been in and out of the lineup. This is a big game for them at home here. I mean, obviously, I'd imagine Evanston or wherever they play will be kind of excited for this game. You're getting number 2. And look, Michigan State, I think we have to remember, other than the last game they played, they've been hideous against the number. This is an itching spot. I mean, I want to go and take Northwestern because I feel like there's teams that just kind of pop up. And there's actually a team today, Donnie, that I think is in a great role to knock off a big upset, which I'll talk about in the next game. Could it be Northwestern today? They're getting enough points.
Yeah.
We know Michigan State has had trouble covering the number, and Northwestern, has the ability. Chris Collins, I feel like, will kind of rise from the dead here a bit and say, "Wow, look at Chris Collins. They lose by 3 or something." I want to take Northwestern. I think it's a great spot for them at home here, getting the number 2 team in the country.
Hey, Jeff, going back to a game that I just watched, obviously, and bet on, and it's an interesting scenario that I do like to bring up. And we're going to keep it in the American Conference, Jeff, which, me and the big man probably going to make a little road trip tomorrow, folks, down to see Temple play Houston. But before we get there, 533, 534. The reason I bring this game up, because I know you like what Tulane's got going on, what they're building for to the future. Dunleavy is the head coach. But I want to bring this up with Tubby Smith's squad here. We saw them go on the road, and it's not really that big of a victory. It sounds like it's a big victory to go to Moody and beat SMU, but we know about the problems SMU has, barely getting scholarship players out there. Best players are hurt. But when you take a look at this game, Memphis is going to get their best player back in this game in Martin, which they did not have versus SMU, off a win. But now you're looking here, 31%, not many people backing Memphis in here, 69% lining up on Tulane. The line opens up at 1.5. It's down to 1. Is this a good spot for Memphis, or does Memphis say, whoo, felt good to get that win at SMU. Now we still got to travel on the road, but you are getting Martin back. How do you play that out when your best player is coming back even after you win? Is this a letdown mode, or maybe in that sleepy Tulane environment, can Tulane get the job done here?
Yeah, I mean, this is one of those games as well, Donnie, where you have, 2 teams that are really kind of not playing for a ton. It's not like these teams are going to have to improve, their, seeding in the big dance, and neither of these teams, unless they win the conference tournament. I'll be interested to see how Tulane bounces back. They're off of a bad loss to Eastern Carolina at home. Before that, they get absolutely crushed by Houston, only scoring 42 points. This Tulane team's starting to kind of leak oil, man. I mean, they've lost 4 games in a row. Only one of them, was a really competitive game. I don't consider East Carolina a competitive game because A, you shouldn't lose to them, and B, it shouldn't be close. You should be rolling them. But I mean, against Temple, they didn't play well on Super Bowl Sunday. Houston, they were never in the game. With Memphis getting their boy back off a pretty good win, hey, it is Tulane basketball at the end of the day. They had their, I guess, climax, if you will. I talk about teams with, that maybe overrate early, and they kind of blow their load a bit early. I think that was Tulane. I mean, you had, the win against Temple in Temple. You beat SMU when they had all their good players. But the first game these 2 teams played, Memphis put up 96 points. What was the excuse? I kind of would rock and ride with Memphis here. I'm not a fan of that group on the road, but Tubby Smith, I'll take a shot. 2 old coaches here kind of going head to head. Gun to my head, I'd take Memphis.
Sounds good, man. Thanks, folks, for tuning in here. We got about another 20 minutes left in the show. Always a lot of fun. Huge card on Saturdays. Over 525 people watching live. Thanks so much. Hit the like button down there. Hit the dislike button if you like the content that we have out, Jeff. We'll just keep it moving on. But before we do that, check out sportsbookreview.com. If you're looking to get down on any action today, Jeff, check out the sportsbooks. They're all rated right there for you. Who pays out the fastest? Who gives the best odds? Who puts up the odds fastest there? Best bonuses? Check it out at sportsbookreview.com, Jeff. Saw one come up in the chat box here by Chip Kendall, Jeff. And I know this is a team that you sort of been sounding off on. 627, 628, Texas Arlington, UL Lafayette. About 500 tickets have been tracked. 55% of those tickets, Jeff, coming in on UL Lafayette. Heavy line here, -11, -10.5 across the board here, Jeff. What are we going to take a look at this game? Is there any value in Texas Arlington heading out on the road here?
Not sure. I don't see how there is. I mean, I kind of relate them a lot to Kentucky. I mean, Texas Arlington for me is over the season and over the last several seasons. I think if you're a guy that follows college hoops a ton, they're a maddening team to many. I mean, they're full of talent. They have the best player in the conference. They have a player in Hervey who probably will go to the next level and be a decent NBA player. I don't know. I don't get it. Scott Cross seems like every season he has the best team in the Sun Belt, and they find a way every season to not go to the tournament. I think at some point he's going to have to answer to the Pied Piper. But, you look at this game, should they be an 11-point underdog or 10.5-point underdog? I want to say no, but they've had so many mental lapses on the road. Donnie, you have a team that I think has at points this year, they don't play for their coach. You've had guys late to practice, not starting games because of issues with the team. I mean, they're talented. They have a great little core there with Neal and Hervey and Johnny O'Brien and Nathan Hawkins, but UL Lafayette's a grinder. Do you want to step in front of them? I don't mind maybe grabbing the 10.5 because I do have a competent team. This isn't UL Monroe or Texas State. Texas Arlington's a good basketball team. I just have a hard time ever figuring them out. They're hard to back. Gun to my head, I'd probably go Arlington, but they've lost a lot of luster, I think, for a lot of bettors.
And, Jeff, you should be an odds maker right now because SMU just hit 17 points with under a minute to go. So it looks like you're lined up. Maybe go out there. Forget about Chris Andrews or Roxy Roxborough. Jeff, move you right into stations out there and had you start making some of these lines because that was right on point. 24-17 UCF with about 30 seconds left to go in the half, Jeff. Mutt Beast chimes in here, Jeff. Another Big 12 battle that I want to talk about. 583, 584.
Hey, Donnie.
What's that? Yeah.
What's the guy? What was his name?
Mutt Beast.
Mutt Beast.
M-U-T Beast.
Interesting name.
66% lining up for the Fog Allen Fieldhouse Kansas Jayhawks, Jeff. Taking on the Mountaineers here. Opens up at 3.5. Currently sitting at 3.5. Bet Online actually just dropped it to -2.5, -115. To me, just looking at the game and how hard it is to win against Kansas on the road, and we've seen West Virginia's struggles as of late on the road. That line, just looking at it, only 34% of the wagers coming into West Virginia. They have a fighting chance in this one, Jeff, heading out to Fog Allen?
Well, yeah, of course they have a fighting chance. You look at obviously the schematics. We know what West Virginia's going to do. They're going to press. The guard play for Kansas is real good. They should be able to handle this, especially at home. But I wonder, can Kansas handle West Virginia? I think we'll see points in this game. I think that's probably the safest way to go in Kansas and West Virginia. We know when you break that press, if you can break that press, you're going to score at will. Do I like Kansas? Yeah, I love their guards, but I wonder about their front court. I don't think it's good enough. Some of the bigs, Konate and Issa Ahmed, guys like that, they should have pretty good days here. Azubuike needs to be great in this game. If Azubuike can be great in this game, I think they'll win and cover. If he's just average and dealing with fouls, this is going to be a tough game. I think we'll see some points. I would lean Kansas and I would lean points.
Jeff, and Tug Welsh out here. If you had a kid soon, now this is me talking for this game coming up. If you had a kid, I'm not sure you wouldn't name his middle name or at least name his first name Weber. because we're going to go out to this. One of your favorite teams to bet on over the past couple of years, 7:01, 7:02, some late night action, 10:05 Eastern time tip-off. 75% of those tickets lining up on Weber, just like we saw previous. Weber was able to get the job done as well, but they are on the road again. This time it's Jeff, instead of getting 4 or 5, they're laying 5 in this contest versus Sac State. Give the people out there some Weber love. Can they get the job done after a nice win previously on the road? Can they do it again on Saturday night and cover the number as well?
Yeah, I can't see any reason they shouldn't. I mean, Weber State has been one of the more competent teams for me in the country betting wise. I've been on them, really all season, off and on. They've just been a great bet in conference. They've covered 10 of 13 in conference. And you have a team in Sacramento State here that is awful. I've seen this team play a couple different times. I actually go back to Thanksgiving, Donnie. My mother gave out my play of the day that day on video, and it was actually San Diego State against Sacramento State. San Diego State won by like 40. So I always have a small place in my heart for Sac State. My mother even knows who they are. But Sac State, I mean, just a bad team. I mean, they're 6-20 this year, Donnie. They're 10-13 against the number, and they're shooting 42.5% over the last 5 games. Not good enough. Weber, the great thing about them is they're great on offense. They're great defensively. They do a nice job at the foul line. They're good from 3. You look at defensively, and they're almost top 100 in points allowed. You look at the first game these two teams played. Easy win for Weber, 80-64. I got to be honest and frank. I don't know that I'm not sure the outcome's much different here. Justin Strings is back for Sac State. He does add a bit of a dimension there at guard for them, but this Weber team's kind of rolling right now. They're just behind, and this is important, with how many games to go? They got 5 games to go in this conference. They're 1 game behind, 1.5 games behind Montana. This is a huge game. You got to win these kind of games if you're Weber. And they're the kind of team that late in games you love. I mean, they make their foul shots. They're aggressive. They don't give anything easy to you. And the difference here between this game and Portland State that I had the other night, Weber State, Portland will run with you. They're never really out of the game because they can make shots. If Sac State goes down in this game, I think it's real difficult to come back. Weber is rolling. I'm not stepping in front of them. They're probably going to be on my card a little bit later.
Jeff, Adam UES, and I'm glad he brought this game up because I always like these scenarios. Sometimes I seek these out to see how some teams are going to, take control of a injury standpoint. 657, 658, Jeff. We usually know Los Angeles, Jeff, and I made this up on the fly right now, is usually Tinseltown, but now Oregon State's in town, Jeff. What type of town is it?
Tinseltown.
Tinseltown. There you go. We should be writing headlines here right now. The reason why I wanted to bring this up, and I'm glad that Adam did, is we saw Boatwright go down for the end of the year. I don't know if it was an ACL patellar, but he's not coming back. Devastating injury to maybe their best overall player. 52% of the public still going to back USC in this moment, Jeff. Line opens up at 8, still sitting around 8 to 7.5. When you get a devastating injury, Jeff, does it usually take for you capping wise? Do you like to get right involved in that and say, you know what, I want to see how they're going to respond to this game, maybe sit it out? Or do you jump in and say they're going to, back their guy for 1 or 2 games before the bottom falls out and they realize, after a couple games, we really can't overcome this? Boatwright being out, would that affect your capping? Or do you see value in Oregon State heading down to USC without probably their best player?
Yeah, this is one of the great handicapping angles in college basketball. Betting on a team, betting against a team, first, second game out after losing a great player. They generally don't get going until a couple games into that. And you look at USC, I said before, and I'm going to say it with this Boatwright injury, I'm not sure how they come back from this. I mean, this is now the second high-level player that they're going to lose. They already lost Melton, who has been out for some school issues with the team internally. Boatwright now out. Boatwright's their best player. He just is. You can try to tell me it's other people. I'm not going to buy it. I think it's devastating. Also, they have that investigation kind of under the radar. I think Andy Enfield will be mentioned in that indictment that's coming up. Unfortunately, it's true. I think Oregon State's in a great spot here, getting 8 points. Am I in love with the Beavers? No, but I think they're very scrappy. I like Tinkle a lot, coach's son. Stephen Thompson's hit some big shots for them all season. They have a little bit of depth. Seth Berger, Alfred Hollins. They have some depth there. Give me Oregon State. I would definitely look towards them here. It's hard, I feel like, for USC. It's going to be hard to pull themselves off the mat. Do I think they'll win? I think they'll find a way at home to win, but laying almost double digits, that's hard to do with a couple great players out of the mix.
No, you're right. Hey, Jeff, by the way, Justin Searcy brings up a good game, and I like this matchup. I'm glad he brought it up. Two old school Big East teams now, obviously new ACC teams, 551, 552, Notre Dame and BC. Two teams to me that are evenly matched with offensively what they like to do. Both like to trigger the three and pull it. BC, we've seen, Jeff, big wins at home, beating Miami, always feisty at home. Notre Dame still coming back. I mean, Matt Farrell's finally back in the mix, but obviously still missing the big man Bonzi in the middle. If we take a look at this game, it opened up at 1, still sitting at 1. But, Jeff, I got to be honest with you. I'm not actually looking at a side in this one. I like the total over 144.5. I think it's going to be a really good offensive flowing game with both teams like to pull the trigger on the three. I can see this game getting into the 150s here. Any thoughts on Notre Dame, Boston College here?
Yeah, Boston College has lost 10 in a row to Notre Dame. You would think maybe this is a spot where they come out and hit them in the mouth here at home, but I'm not so sure. Notre Dame is not in the field to me. Obviously, they have plenty of work to do, and they have the ability. They got Miami coming up, still have a UVA at the end of the season, and I've seen some reports. Bonzi's looking pretty good in some of his workouts. You might see him back here coming up. DJ Harvey, probable to play today for Notre Dame, another big boy coming back. Obviously, that's important. Getting him in game action. You mentioned Farrell. You still have Temple Gibbs and Gibbon and Pfluger. I'm not looking to go in front of Notre Dame. I think against Boston College, they just kind of own this Irish Catholic rivalry, if you will. Donnie, is there two more Irish Catholic teams than these two? Boston College
No. Yeah, brothers in arms right there. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, this is like a fight back to Dublin in a way. But yeah, I would lean Notre Dame here. I think Boston College, they just don't seem to have any number here in this matchup, and getting Harvey back's big. Donnie, one game I wanted to just chat about quickly here, up at the top of the hour at noon. You got Navy hosting Boston University, actually in Boston University. Kind of a game off the radar, Patriot League. This Navy team playing some good basketball. Obviously we know Navy is a football school, but defensively they have been fantastic lately. They've only given up 38% shooting over the last 5 games. Opponents 55 points per game, and there's a couple things to like about Navy here. First of which, they've been good on the road, 10-3 straight up. Okay, they're very good defensively, as I mentioned. This BU team really struggling right now from the field. 63.5 points a game over the last 5 games. And you have one of the worst free throw shooting teams in the country overall. 62.9% is BU. I'm looking at this game and I'm kind of asking myself, can Navy go in and win this? I think they can. Obviously a game that no one will care about on a Saturday, but this is how people ask, how do you know so much about college? Because I sit and I watch games like Navy BU. I know at some point on a random Tuesday in March, I'm going to have to cap Boston University. I'm going to have to cap Navy. Navy's playing well. They might be worth a look here at noon to go into BU and get a big win for the midshipmen.
Looks like we got about 5 minutes left in the show, Jeff, so we'll go over some games that probably we like a little bit more, or maybe looking at there. I have 2 games I'd like to give out today that I've already given out to my players. 2 home teams I'm going to check in with. I do have one a little bit later tonight, but we'll hold off on that 9:30. I might give that one out on Twitter, Jeff. 549, 550, Texas A&M and Arkansas, 56% of the tickets backing the hometown team, the Arkansas Razorbacks, Jeff. I laid the 2.5 points at home here with Arkansas. I see it, they lost on the 30th to Texas A&M on the road, 80-66. But we all know when you head to Bud Walton, Jeff, one of the best home court advantages in the country, especially down in the SEC. 2.5, I think the number is a little bit light here. I think a great effort here by the Arkansas Razorbacks. And again, it's only 2.5, so you're looking to basically just win this ball game. Nice revenge factor here. I'm going to lay it and take it here with the Arkansas Razorbacks in this game. Jeff, do you have any other games that you'd like to give out or take a look at? I know earlier, was it Texas that you were on that you're giving out as one of your plays?
Yeah. Texas is going to be on my card plus 6.5. I already set that one out. I'm definitely going to be on that at noon here. Some of the other games I have my eye on, I haven't decided on the rest of the cards just yet, but I'm looking obviously at maybe Xavier. I don't know. We'll see. I like couple totals. William and Mary Northeastern. I'm going to look more into some of the schematics there. Uh, Northeastern is a big time ball screen offense. They run a lot of pick and roll. William and Mary are dreadful against pick and rolls, and I want to see what exactly the percentages are. But overall, I think we'll see plenty of points in this game. Both teams obviously pretty high tempo. William and Mary always a very up tempo group. I'm also looking a little bit at JMU Towson. This JMU team's playing some good basketball after getting the mumps, Donnie. They've
Hmm.
they've had some good wins since then. I don't know what the hell happened, but they're facing a team in Towson that's been an over machine all season. A couple CAA totals. Obviously I'm keeping my eye on Weber. I got my eye on NC State, Baylor, teams in bracket buster situations, teams that really need wins. The Tiger Bob's asking, does Donnie ever give an opinion? Well, first of all, he's the
Didn't I just
host.
do it?
Second,
Didn't I just give
yeah,
one?
first of all, Tiger Bob, you're out of line here. First of all, he's the host. Second of all, he just gave out Arkansas. What are you not listening? Did you not clean your ears out yet today? What's the deal? That's the problem with having a tout on a show like this. Tiger Bob, you're way out of line with your comments. He just gave a play out. He's been giving out his opinion all day. Tiger Bob, what are you
And I
talking
have
about?
another one I'm going to give
Uh,
my play out. Yes. Yeah.
yeah, but maybe you shouldn't because Tiger Bob wants to complain about everything. Maybe you should just say, "I keep that to yourself, Donnie."
Yeah, you know what? I think I will. I think I'm going to keep to myself. Jeff, I've never given out any plays on the thousands of hours we've done shows together, by the way.
And Tiger Bob, just to keep in mind, I slam touts all the time. I think most of them are scam artist shitheads, but there's a couple that are really good people. And Donnie Rightside's not only a good tout, but he's a great friend of mine. And he's one of the good touts in this business. So slow your roll a bit, cuz. All right.
No, hey, it comes with the territory there. 2 minutes left in the show, Jeff. But well, you know what? Let's go one more game, Jeff. Let's go one more. I'm going to pick on a team that had a recent big suspension, and that's going to be the St. Louis Billikens, Jeff. Jordan Goodwin tossed to the side, even though, Jeff, I know you like this. You
Yeah.
go through an
Yeah.
investigation, you're cleared of all the charges, but yet, due to school policy, you're not allowed to play for the next 2 months, which wipes out a season. We'll be eligible to return next year, but one of the better players on that team. I'm going to lean on Richmond as I've done quite a bit here on the home court. I just see one of those spots where, Jeff, St. Louis goes on the road and you just get that little pin cushion in you like a balloon, letting the air out of it. DeMonte Buckingham back. No more cramps, no more suspensions for him. I think Richmond will be able to get the job done. If you're looking right now, Chris and Bet Online sitting at 2.5. So those two plays, I'll lean on two home teams, Jeff, at both 2.5, basically just to win the game. Hopefully get a 2-0 sweep. I'm going to go Richmond and Arkansas today with both of my plays of the day, Jeff.
We had Donnie at one point almost 500 people watching the show, and I'm going to take one last shot here. I'm going to give you one other game I'm taking a look at. By the way, Donnie, what a nugget! I like that one. St. Louis is, to me, I've watched them play. I hate them on the road, and B, I hate them without Jordan Goodwin. Goodwin, a very good
Yes.
player, does a lot of little things for Travis Ford's team. I'm going to take a look, Donnie. I'm going to call it today, and I'm going to tell you, don't be surprised if the Gamecocks knock off Auburn today. This South Carolina
Ooh,
team, Donnie,
ooh.
every season, okay, every season seems to knock off a good team. Right now, who the hell wants to back South Carolina? They're playing badly. They're not doing anything right. Frank Martin's kind of in and out all season. They're off that Final Four last year. They can't beat Auburn. But this is a tough spot going down to Auburn or going down to South Carolina. Be really towards the end of the year, a team that really has nothing to play for. I'm sure they've had this game circled all season. And people are going to point to, well, big men, they're only shooting 40% a game at home. Okay, well, Auburn's not playing well defensively and haven't really all year. I think South Carolina can hang in this game on the boards. They're not a team that turns the ball over a whole hell of a lot. Don't be surprised to see South Carolina give them a game here. I'm interested in this one to see how Auburn handles, kind of the pressure. They're a number one seed now. Okay, they're not 2 or 3. They're now a number one seed. Okay, so that's pressure for a team that's not really used to the pressure.
No, I hear you. And Jeff, our time is about up here. Great show. Unbelievable chat box as usual, as we always get here on Saturdays. Me and the big men on campus do want to thank you, though. Jeff, I'm going to be off the rest of the day. Going to head down to the Borgata a little bit later, take the wife out to a belated Valentine's dinner, have a nice steak dinner down there. Hopefully, she doesn't blow through my money in the slot machines like she usually does. What do you got planned for the rest of the day, my man?
Well, I know for me, Donnie, around here, it's supposed to snow over the next couple hours. Supposed to get
Mhm.
3 or 4 inches here. So I got to go out and do some things that I wasn't able to do this week. Tomorrow, I'll be down in Philly for the game, going to Temple Houston. So, just hanging out, obviously being around the computer, plenty of games to go over. If you're interested in my plays, follow me on Twitter. I'll have them out throughout the day. One currently in play with Texas. Other than that, thanks for hosting, Donnie. Great job. And everyone have a great weekend. We'll be back Monday, Donnie and I. And look for tomorrow. You might see us down at the Leah Course Center rooting on our
Yeah.
Temple Owls.
Yeah.
Donnie, there's a chance, I'm just saying, you might see us
Mhm.
behind the bench. Is that correct? Maybe?
I think it may be hanging out with Mr. Alston Senior as opposed to Junior on the
Yeah.
court, but
We
we'll
should
be
get
making
him
some phone
interview
calls
from him.
today, and we'll
Yeah.
tap it in. Yes, exactly. Yep.
Yeah.
We need to take. You know how Barstool gets the microphone with the little wraparound? We need one of those for SBR to take
Yeah.
to these games, Jeff.
No, hey, listen, Donnie, I've often mentioned, I think man on the street's a great thing. Remember the last time we went to a game, Donnie, we had guys coming up to us. Yo, you're the big man. Remember that kid? Those kids that came
Yeah,
up to
yeah,
us?
at Temple. Hey, maybe they'll be down
Yeah.
there at the Temple game, knowing we're being the
They're like,
house again.
hey,
Sure.
wait, you're the big man on campus, aren't you? And I said, yeah. And I'm thinking Donnie
You're
paid these
bullshitting. Yeah,
guys to come up
you're
to me.
bullshitting me. Who's putting? Yeah, exactly.
And,
Like I
and,
just walked around the corner while Jeff
and he
stepped
goes,
away. Yep.
no. He goes, no, we listen to the show every day. You guys, we're great. You're great. I love SBR. I'm like, shit, that's great. So yeah, you might see us tomorrow. Hey, thanks to Larry for producing. We
Yep.
appreciate his hard work on a Saturday. Larry, thank you, man. Donnie, great job hosting. We'll see you next week on the right side of camp.
See ya.